Hello, and welcome to the Back in the Bold podcast. I'm your host, Vip Ripperman, and I'm excited this morning to be with Chris Kaspar of Techless. Chris, excited to have you on the podcast this morning and look forward to learning a little bit more about what's going on.
I met you 7 years ago. You were like the first main contact I had to launch this company. A board member referenced it. And so it is so fun to circle up 7 years later and continue the conversation of what we're up to. So this is a good conversation.
Oh my word, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Exciting things happening, man. Well, normally you find yourself in Shiner, Texas, not terribly far from where I am in Dallas. Where are you this morning?
The whole team is up in London in the UK here, and we've had a grand time. We've been launching a new product here, and it's gone wild in all the best ways. We're having afternoon tea and all the London things.
That's awesome. Well, exciting to see a Texas entrepreneur doing these international things, man. That's fantastic. And excited to hear a little bit more about the European rollout. Well, first off, though, tell us a little bit about the backstory for a listener of the podcast who doesn't know who Chris Kaspar is and has never heard of Techless before. Tell me how you got to be a telecom entrepreneur.
Sure, this was not. I'm deeply intentional. I have goals and I go after them, and this is not ever what I intended to do. It was sort of I had foster daughters 7, 8 years ago. I was working at a fifth gen family business, which was a blessing in of itself. And I sort of had this blank page moment where I could do anything I wanted and had a list of 20 ideas, narrowed it down to the top three, ran numbers on some of them. One was low risk and high reward. And then around that time, one of the ideas was to launch a safe phone for kids. And that was inspired by our journey with foster care. We had uh, daughters or sisters, a sibling set that just could not be trusted with their device. And so there was a lot going into that exact moment, but that was kind of the catalyst for starting this just deep dive into why is our technology broken for kids? Oh, wait, it's broken for us too. And then we began the journey that you've been a huge part of.
My word. Well, it's amazing how oftentimes the entrepreneurs I talk to, it comes from a personal connection to the technology or to the problem that they have. They see something wrong in the world or in the products that they're using, and they decide to try to make a difference in them. So exciting to hear a little bit more about where that problem took you. Take us a little farther back, though. Tell us, did you grow up in an entrepreneurial family? Um, being a Texan, like what is it like growing up there as well, and especially small town Texas? I mean, this wasn't, big Dallas kind of area. So talk to us a little bit about just a little bit of your upbringing and background.
Sure. I will lead with that I've been very blessed. I have the opportunity to be part of a fifth gen family business. We've been around for 125 years, and we have had some of the world's best brands in grill guards for pickup trucks. My great grandfather invented the shopping cart. We have the number one saddle company, one of the top gold and silver dealers in the nation, depository facility that's literally the second largest silver holdings in the world. I've been blessed to be part of that legacy. And I guess there's some intuition that's come from that.
Hmm.
Looking back, you just got generations of people constantly reinventing themselves, creating. I mean, none of the companies we have right now, there's 8 subsidiaries, even existed 10 years ago, or they weren't within us, within the company itself. And so there's just this kind of hunger that's part of the family name. And I hope to pass that on to my kids and their kids. But I've definitely been blessed.
That's awesome. And tell me a little about your college experience.
Texas A&M, gig 'em. I went to A&M, got a business degree. It was a great experience. I was really involved on campus, student body, a lot of activities. I had meetings 6 out of 7 nights out of the week. I started an
Hmm.
organization called Artist. There was a lot of highly talented creative individuals on campus, like David Crowder. There's just some awesome musicians and artists, but there was no group bringing them together. They were just on an island, and so this brought us together. It was a really, really cool community, and that organization still exists to this day. And then after A&M, I went and got a master's in art because it was close to my now wife. But it was a really fun experience making film and painting and doing that type of thing. So
Interesting. I did not know about that. And knowing you for a few years, that you're like masters in art. Is
It
it?
was more so for fun than serious, but it's definitely influenced like the risk. And I would say honestly, even what I'm doing now with technology has some overlap because if you think about it, art is the tip of the spear of what defines culture. And whatever
Mm,
artists are doing now, look at them, and that's where we're headed. You can see the future 20 years from now. It's just non-negotiable. That's where the world is headed because art inspires the news, and the news inspires the people, etc. But technology is a
interesting.
very similar space. It's kind of closer on the tip of the spear in defining how we live, how we interact, and how we relate.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that's fun. I love hearing the backgrounds of people where like they got the inspiration to do what they do. And so it's kind of fascinating to hear about that, especially knowing you for that long and not actually hearing that part of the story. So you've talked to us a little bit about the problem you saw in getting to be an entrepreneur in this space, but kind of help lay that out for us. You guys saw like, you know, children were struggling, your foster children were struggling with managing phone and being trusted with it. And you're like, hey, there's not a product out there that we can actually hand to them that we believe that they can do like successfully.
Yeah, yeah, that was the moment, and we had already had like five or so foster kids come and go, but this was 10 and 13-year-old girls, and so it was like, welcome to being teenage parents, day and
Mm.
overnight. And when they had sent pictures of themselves wearing less clothes than they should have to 45-year-old men, and that was a really big issue. And we were kind of stuck, which I think most teen parents are stuck between this like, hey, are you going to be sticks in the mud and jerks to these kids that just walked into your house? Or do you let them do whatever they want to do? It's like there was no alternative. And I think the kind of moment of inspiration, I was at the family business helping market lean transformation. If you're familiar with business systems, manufacturing, lean is a way of thinking. And one of the tenets of lean is error proofing systems. So if you have a
Oh,
door that automatically locks when it closes, you can't forget to lock the door. And if it automatically closes, the door will just lock by itself. That's an error proofed system. And
hmm.
so I was like, how can we make an error-proof system for our kids to protect their souls in a sense? And
Mm.
in that moment, the best thing we could find was an Amazon Alexa device because they could talk to it. We could trust them with it. But the boundaries of that tech were built into the device. There was no screen. They couldn't take pictures, whatever. And what was cool about it, when we gave them that device, our relationship with them really improved. And that was like,
Huh.
oh, boundaries on the device level can deepen relationship between parents and kids, and we give them freedom. And so that was kind of the catalyst that was tied into the family history, tied into what I was doing, and sort of the whole synthesis here.
Nice. So, as an entrepreneur and someone who's grown up in like family businesses and that kind of thing, your first thought is, well, if I can't find something that I really, really like, let's just go build one.
Yep. And when we first started, there was nothing at all on the market. We were the only ones. So
Wow. So talk to me a little bit about that process. I mean, to say I'm going to build a new phone that my kids can use, and to then to actually go through the process of, building a technology product, building the software that runs that technology product, and the battery, and all those kind of little details,
yeah.
and then marketing it out. Not only for your family to use, but like starting to pay attention to like, will other people buy this? To give us just a little bit of that experience, maybe a couple lessons you learned.
Sure, sure. So I did started out. I kind of wanted to stage gate my way into this, and if any point it failed, and with increasingly larger risk, both personally and with other people's money, and if any of them failed, it was just okay. The project's over. Let's move on. So like the first 6 months, it was market research, interviews, some price testing, some fake advertisements. If people clicked through, then there was enough traction. Okay, that was me on my own. Technically, I was sitting there hacking Android to see what I could turn off and on and stuff like that. Then I so there was a lot of interest. That was probably 3 months or so, lots of interest. So I'm like, okay, let's put a little bit of money. So I put in some of my own money to like take it to the next step. And I remember having a conversation with one of the major design firms that does OS. They work with Samsung. They invented the folding phone. That this was the firm, and I talked to their principals, and I said, "How much is this going to cost?" And I showed them all my mock-ups and stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's going to cost like 1.5 million for the design." I was like, "Oh, okay." And they go, "Oh yeah, probably another 8 to 10 for the engineering, and then Q&A is going to be another 3 or 4." I was like, "Okay, so you're talking about a
Whoa.
$15 million project." And I was like pretty intimidated by the whole process. But then I said, maybe there's better ways to do this. So went back to the drawing board. and continued to pass some very cool Gideon like moments. Like, God, if you could provide this person, a person who loves the Lord, who happened to be a principal at Apple or Google. And next thing you know, hey, Josh Banko, the man that created the Apple iPad, like team lead, falls in my lap as a contact, and we start talking more. Hey, God, if we can have an investor that sees some of the traction we had, hey, we got 1,000 emails, signs up to dive in with us early on and take an early bet because I could possibly fund this myself, but like that's another form of like validation. We're onto something. If I could get another investor in,
Right.
and got some investment in, and so we kind of worked our way up, and next thing you know, we're selling phones. It took us 2 years all in all, R&D, to build, design the thing, about $1.5 million to get that first version out the door,
Well,
but
that
a whole
seems
lot.
kind of quickly, actually. I mean, when I think about what it would take if I was like today, I want to go build a new phone. But that's
Yeah,
pretty
I mean,
amazing. Okay, so about
we
two
we cut
years.
some corners that I
Yeah.
wish we hadn't, but there was like no other way
Hmm.
to do it early on. I mean, we built 8 apps in an enclosed ecosystem and app distribution platforms. It was very robust, complicated what we did technically, and just on the edges, stuff kind of wobbled a little bit.
And
So that was
always
kind of
using that kind of lean mindset thinking, like the lean startup
trying.
kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So very, very proud of what we built for that first round of investment, the first, and then out of that, because there was nothing in the market, we just had a tremendous organic growth. It was like 90% of our sales were not ad fueled. It was podcast and moms telling moms, and it just exploded. And so that kind of took us to the next step where we could go raise additional investment, and we're off to the races now. So
Awesome. Well, tell me about two or three of the key lessons you learned during that season. I mean, I'm sure there were 100 things, and some mistakes, some, things that went really well.
thinking through one of the wins, actually, this is, I don't know if it's a lesson I learned, but it's something I anticipated. So I know intimately what being a shareholder with people that are value aligned or not value aligned means.
Huh.
And
Okay.
because of fifth generation family business, like I spent my political capital with my family fighting uphill against things that I knew were things that we should do. I had strong convictions that this was right or ethical or redemptive, or this is the way the world needed to operate. And I
Hmm.
just eventually I just hit the ceiling. And that's why I quit working at the family business, was because of that ceiling. And so starting over with, okay, I've got a blank cap table. Who do I want here? I did a lot of reverse due diligence upwards, and who am I going to partner with from an investment standpoint, and who's going to be in relationship, who's going to have control, who's going to be on the board. And I'll say that has just been even better than I could have hoped for or imagined. Like Wes Lyons from Eagle Venture Funds on my board, and we have become good friends. And I come to him vulnerably with some of the toughest business challenges we have. And it's been a dream, and it could have been a nightmare with a different name, a different firm.
Wow.
So that was one of the things that I really held my ground on. We turned away a $6 million check because of this. And it was the right call. Those guys were snakes. It wouldn't have worked out well. It would have been a mess. The company would have been defunct
Hmm.
or whatever. It just wouldn't have been good. So sticking to that was one of my favorite wins, I'd say, that I had a notion about, and then I would just double down. If I did it again, I'd go even deeper next time. So
Interesting. So who you align yourself with makes a big, big difference.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, if you think about what we're trying to fix, we're trying to make healthy tech that's good for the world.
Hmm.
Well, there's sacrifices that we as a company have to make in order to make healthy technology, because so much of the reason why our tech is broken is the perverse incentives on the investment side. And we're definitely returning a healthy return. We're going after it. We're not anti numbers or profit or anything. We've been profitable for months now in a
Hmm.
wonderful way. But there had to be hard questions to our investor base saying, hey, if we don't exploit teen girls' attention and our sales are down 15% because of it, are you okay with that? The Meta folks said, no, we're not okay with it, you know, and
Hmm.
and we had to have a different answer to that question. So
Interesting. Okay. Well, so you've got phone one, it gets onto the market, people are buying it. You decide to do like version two and then roll it out here in Europe. So talk to us a little bit about the European rollout and the mindset around that. What's going on now?
yeah, and from a technical standpoint, behind the scenes, we're on sixth generation product here.
Really?
So
Okay.
yeah, we've reinvented ourselves 6 times in 5 years, as far as the tech stack here. But Wisephone 2 is live in the States. We're selling hundreds.
Pause
Oh,
there for a second.
yeah, yeah.
Why? Like 6 times? Is that, taking something away, adding something in? Um, you made that point. So I want to pause there for a second and say, what was it that's caused the reiteration or the reinventing?
It's just iterations of improving the tech stack is the
Hmm.
real backbone behind it. What we've done is so technical. And I mean, examples like between Gen 2, Gen 1 was me coding. Okay, that was garbage. We didn't sell that, that was just, or we actually did sell Gen 1, but it wasn't stuff I coded.
Hmm.
But the transition between Gen 2 and 3, we launched using the Google Play Store as an app distribution platform. So we had 8 apps in the Google Play Store. Well,
Okay.
at the end of the day, Google had philosophical issue with our messaging app. They didn't believe that parents should have access to kids' messages. It's an invasion of their privacy. We do believe
Oh.
that. Like that's how you love your kids is by actually engaging with what they're doing. And
Hmm.
so we were at an impasse. So legitimately our phones would brick if we didn't solve this. So we had to reinvent I mean, that's a complete overhaul of
Yeah,
how we're
no
doing
kidding.
things.
So did you have to
And
step outside the Play Store completely and just
yeah,
have
we
your
made
own?
we made a completely our own version of a Play Store. And the funny thing was is we on the website, nothing changed visually. Like it was still Wisephone 1 on the website, same SKU, same hardware, everything, but the entire tech stack was gutted, rebuilt, recreated, everything, and we had
Wow.
control over it and platform level access and we could do whatever we wanted and we could push updates
Hmm.
without code audits and I mean, it was just better, faster, leaner, served our customers better. So like there's an example and then the most recent one, we shipped from Wisephone 1 to Wisephone 2. There was an actual philosophical shift in the product where prior to that, we had only had things we made, first party apps, tools we made, zero trust for anybody else. Wisephone
Hmm.
2 allows third party tools because so now not just the hardcore digital minimalist, which is like 2% of society could use it. Now it's like, hey, aspirational soccer mom who just wants to cut back on some screen time, but she still needs her grocery shopping app. Okay, she can use Wisephone too. So it's much more accessible for people.
Ah, interesting. And it sounds like when you say, soccer mom using the phone, it sounds like you're saying too, as the phone has like iterated and gotten better and that sort of thing, there's actually not just kids using it. Like the initial
I,
design was let's get kids using this and make life safe for the kids. But it sounds
yeah,
like now,
yeah, totally. So my journey actually started with kids, but it very quickly got personal. It got to me like, oh, I'm addicted to my phone. I'm addicted to entertainment. I need stuff. And in our research, we found that kids don't like kids' devices. There are other kids' phones that have come out, and I'm serious. Like, there's
no,
kids.
no,
Misty it came out with a kid phone, and it just totally flopped. I
Hmm,
talked to, and part of my market research, I talked to 3 different founders of failed kids' phones, and
interesting.
the reason they failed was because they made a kid's phone. And
It's kind
so,
of like when the toddler sees the toy phone versus their parents' iPhone, they kind of realize like this one doesn't do anything, mom.
yes,
This one's better over here.
that's it.
Interesting.
So we made a very cool, sleek, sophisticated device. We hired one of the top UX designers in the world named Eddie Lobanovsky, and the whole OS and all of our apps was built with 2 colors, 2 fonts, 3 icons. It was like as pared down and beautiful minimalism as you can imagine. And it read as an adult device. And so 75% of our users are adults, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But the kids don't push it back anymore. They accept it and like it, but the parents are actually, or the adult is actually enjoying it. Now, why would an adult want not the most sophisticated phone in the world? Like, we love our apps, we love being able to see stuff and do stuff, and, we don't like limits, but we definitely want to keep our privacy. But why would an adult want a Wise phone?
So Deloitte did a study about 3 years ago, and
Okay.
65% of people actually want to use their phones less, but they can't. Like they try, they turn on stuff, they delete apps. Have you ever deleted an app and then you add it back on? Like it's just like it doesn't work. And
Hmm.
so Apple screen time has historically just been buggy and just like there's just no incentive for innovation towards healthier use of the device. All the incentives for all the companies are screen time, eyeballs on screen. I make money off of you. That's the
Hmm.
world that's currently built.
Yeah.
And so the consequence is that people actually resent their devices. They don't want that distraction. And so the people that do buy us, the center of the bullseye are actually creative professionals, writers, authors, journalists, artists, people that value their time, their mental energy, their focus. This is a real resource that's important to them. That's the people that
Their
really
brains.
value,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, their brains. I mean, and classically, high net worth. The higher the net worth, the more people are interested in our product. And at the bottom end of the net worth continuum, people don't even understand what we're doing. So,
Interesting. Is that what you expected?
yes, but the reason why is if you look at food, it's the
Mm,
same trend. Who pays for organic? Who pays for healthy food? Who goes out and cooks at, like eats at cleaner restaurants? Who buys McDonald's? Like there's a value continuum, and a smartphone, like you said, has so much stuff on it. There's so much value packed in this little tiny thing. I mean,
mm.
homeless person, like that's you could not pry that out of their hands because there's so much value there. And so as you go up the chain, it's more Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Oh, I have food, clothing, the basics. Now I can think about more aspirational things like my mental health and my focus and my energy and my relationships. And so,
Interesting. Well, and tell me a little bit about I know maybe the listener out there doesn't know that you got involved in a little project called Doom Scroll. So tell a little bit just because of this fact, like because of the realization that people want to control their lives a little bit more and they want to have more uh, management of their brain space and their time. Can you share a little bit about that and why a phone developer and a software entrepreneur took a pause to focus on a project like that?
sure. So, Doom Scroll is a documentary. We
Hmm.
are mid filming currently. We own doomscroll.com. And in a nutshell, if you look at the cycle of where we are from a trend around social media, 5 years ago, when I was first pitching Techless, even investors like they didn't get it. They were like, "What are you doing? There's nothing wrong with my phone." Now everybody gets it. We've shifted from the problem is apparent now, but
Hmm.
if you look at why, my personal theory is that the film The Social Dilemma inspired people. It inspired a new dialogue saying all this social media is bad for us. Okay, well, we're still stuck years and years and years after that film came out. We're still stuck in that dialogue, and everyone's just saying social media is bad. No one's talking about the solution. So there's absolutely a window of opportunity for people with conviction and clarity of thought and wisdom to come in and say, here is the answer to the dilemma that is created by this techno world we have, especially when you pull in AI and I mean the next 10 years. And so my hope is genuinely to inspire the next generation of thinking, and it's positive, it's solution focused, it's not just doom and gloom, and there's actually hope in the midst of it. So that's the heart of the documentary. And we've got some A player interviews lined up. So very excited about that project.
That's awesome. I I love the entrepreneurial spirit that says, "Hey, I see a problem, and I may complain about it for a minute, but I'm going to go figure out how to do something about it." One of the interviews I did with an entrepreneur uh, on the Back in the Bold podcast, his favorite thing to say to his team was, "Figure it out." And it was just he grew up on a farm, and when they had problems, the answer from dad was just figure it out. Like you've got to just solve this problem. And so I love the just that entrepreneurial spirit of we see the problem, and instead of just sitting in it, or instead of like spending time on social media complaining about it, we're going to go solve it, and then we're going to go help other people see that there's a solution. And so that's awesome. So talk to me a little bit about the impact you're having. I heard an impressive number, but I want to get that from you um, about like the impact you're having from the people and the messaging that you're getting from the people who are using your product. Like, what are some
Sure.
of the stories? What are some of the numbers?
So I've got probably three directions I could go here. One, at the highest level, our goal is to create healthy technology. And one of the fun ways we measure it, Google or YouTube, I think they at one point they crossed 100 billion hours of, and they had some party of like, oh, we've had
Like
100
people
billion.
watching YouTube
Yeah,
videos.
people watching
Okay.
YouTube, 100 billion hours. And McDonald's on their sign, their tagline is 100 billion served.
Okay. I
I think
got you.
that's what it is. And so these are both bad, fast food, garbage stuff. I'm like, hey, what if we could give the world back 100 billion hours that would have been squandered on screen time? So we have a catchy phrase, we call it life hours. And those are
Okay.
hours that would have been wasted on screen time. And I think we've crossed a couple billion. I'm not sure exactly. I didn't check the number in a while. But we've given the world back a few lifetimes already of hours that people would have squandered watching makeup tutorials and cat videos. And we're hopefully directing them to be inspired to live life in relationship and wonder, live and imagine and just do more productive uses of their energy. So there's kind of like the fun metric that we're always keeping our mind
I
in the
like,
back of
well,
our minds.
you just said something, wonder, live, and imagine.
Yeah,
And I think that's really powerful. Like, your goal is not poo-pooing technology because, like, again, you're not just complaining about the technology and the things that can be negative, but your goal is to actually help people have a healthier, more flourishing life and relationships with the people around them. And by
yeah.
making the phone more simplified, you're enabling them to have like more time to spend with the people around them and to spend time enjoying the things that they're surrounded by.
Sure. And I would say a nuance to that. When we started with a minimalist device, and that was out of necessity. It was about less, but it's
Mm.
actually not about simple. It actually is about proper. And there's a difference between the two. And so putting tech in
Interesting.
its rightful place in our life doesn't mean it doesn't have to be non-sophisticated. So
Mm.
an example would be uh, AI. You talk to ChatGPT, imagine a kid, it becomes a parental replacement. Okay, what if AI, instead of answering questions, help them navigate the relationships with their parents with wisdom, or going to finding sources or wonder and imagine outside of this little tiny search box? That's a healthier use of technology. It's still smart, sophisticated, it's cutting edge, it's whatever.
Mm.
So it's just putting it not as the idol, it's the tool. It's the servant to us instead of taking control of our lives. And so that's the transition we're trying to make. But it can still be very robust.
Awesome. Well, tell me a couple stories. One of my favorite things, is when people use a product and their lives have been changed. Have you guys ever gotten an email from one of your customers that just said, "Man, I really appreciate your product because of this"?
Every week we get those emails.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very regularly, honestly. The cool thing is our product, especially Wisephone 1, was hard to use. There was a high inconvenience hurdle. It's less so now. But with that, it was transformative in lives. That was the kind of trade-off, is like, it's not like, oh, I just put this little app and it's this cute thing on top of my phone. It's like, no, this is a complete systematic change to the way I interact with the very most intimate piece of technology in my life. And the boundaries around it push me in very different ways. It's crazy. And to give you a little bit of like summary insight, we just did user research. We did 40 interviews, and we had an ex-Google product manager come in, did about an hour, and some kids, some parents, some adults, some creative professionals, whole nine yards. And she said, hey, the two summary words that everybody feels is feelings of peace and freedom. Those are the two like universal words. And what I think was so cool is she's been doing this. She was at Google for 15 years and has been out for 10 years doing this as a consultancy basis. She said, for the first time in my career ever, I teared up hearing story after story after story after story, talking to customers of how transformative Wisephone has been in their life. And she's like a data scientist, PhD, like numbers
Right,
driven
right,
person.
right.
And she's getting emotional talking to people about it. So I get pretty encouraged. I mean, you're right in the middle of all the chaos of launching companies in London and all this stuff. And there's just this breath of fresh air from our customer service agent. Every week he sends us an update. And it's just like, I look forward to that update every week of stories. So
That's awesome, dude. Well, congratulations for the impact that you're having on lives. Talk to us about the rollout. I mean, at the end of the day, you're a business person. You love the impact that you're having on people, but you got to sell a lot of phones to make money. For
yeah.
you guys to be profitable, for you to employ people and taking care of them, for the investors to get paid back, for all those things. So tell us, how many employees do you guys have? I mean, you started with you coding the phone, and now
Oh,
you've
that's
got, a team, obviously. So tell us a little bit about your team, and then tell us about the rollout in Europe.
sure. So we've kind of ebbed and flowed. At one point, we had 27 developers. That was like the peak. And now we're running on a much lighter form. So we're probably around 12, 15 people in that category. We're actually putting out like two or three job offers this week. So I'm going to say
What?
15 because they're all going to say yes.
Yeah.
um, but all in all, it's been a great journey. This is a whole new brand for us. Back to hey, we were talking earlier about Wisephone is perceived as an adult device. we wanted to just go straight up after the kids market. So based on all the years of experience we have, the market research, everything we know,
Hmm.
we put it all together, synthesized it, team meetings, everything like that, and basically have created what we believe is the best brand to serve kids the best, hands
Oh,
down.
wow.
And it's philosophically exactly the same product, but tech stack, totally different tech stack. We're actually launching in partnership with Apple and with Vodafone,
Oh,
two
wow.
major brands. Vodafone's like the Verizon of Europe, and we the regulatory environment here is crazy, tailwinds in our favor, and there's this product landscape is very sparse. So back when Wisephone first launched, there was nothing out there. Exact same environment in the UK currently. So we could have gone anywhere in the world. We probably should have launched in the US, but we decided UK first because there's just so much political pressure and advocacy groups, and there's so many tailwinds here. Let's make a healthy iPhone for kids and teens, a brand specifically for them. And so that's what we're working on.
Dude, that's exciting. So, in a launch like this, I mean, how many phones do you think you're going to sell? What's the original plan?
I have no idea, but we're hoping to hit like 10,000 sooner than later.
Okay.
And yeah,
That's
like
kind of the first goal.
that's the
Like,
numbers that we're thinking. Like we get better deals with Vodafone at 5,000 and like, shoot, let's sell 50,000 extra. I don't know. This is just crazy talk. But the cool thing, this tells you the reception. Okay, we launched, if you've ever been to London, the Tate Modern is this iconic modern art museum. It's one of the world's best museums. On the top floor of the Tate Modern, there's a conference room up in the top corner, and you can look out and see over the Thames River and all of London. And we invited journalists, BBC, The Guardian, all the folks came, and we had a nice dinner there and told them about Sage, and had a mom whose son had committed suicide because of social media, and a psychologist and some other people. Anyways, that was, quote the journalist, the most sincere moment they've had as journalists in a very long time. I don't know if it's a
hmm.
year plus, but these guys go all around all the time, wine and dine by all the big tech companies. And we had 44 articles written about us that weekend. And since then, it's been a couple weeks now. We've had 144 press articles written about us, including
Oh, wow.
articles about the articles about Sage. So the demand is very real, and that will turn into sales. So
Awesome. Congratulations. That's exciting. And how, like, I kind of going back to the original part of your story that you did this big event in the art museum in, London.
that was part of it. I was saying, and honestly, my final lines to the press, we were looking out and you can see the skyline, and there's this, and I teared up, and I'm not an emotional guy at all, really. I'm not like this kind of softy here, but there's a viral Netflix series that the Prime Minister even mentioned called Adolescence. It's gone
Hmm.
wild and it basically, I'm going to spoiler alert, um, a kid commits a murder, and it was because of his activity in social media. And the final line of this social media of this Netflix series that everybody has seen was the father reflecting on his son's life and his role as a father, and he goes, "I'm sorry, son, I should have done better."
Hmm.
And those were the final lines that we left for the journalist to say, hey, we're trying to prevent this for the entire country as they're looking out and seeing parliament and like everything. And I think that moment of saying, we as journalists, we could do better. We as a country, we can do better. And we just have to empower people that are making healthy tech for our kids. And they got it. They got the vision. And so it was a really cool moment. I've never done anything like that before in my life. So it was a first for me.
That's awesome. No, what an exciting moment to be a part of. And the reason is, I had a conversation with another awesome entrepreneur recently, and he made the comment, we look back like early days of the car industry, and we say, we people actually didn't wear seatbelts back then. Like we actually gave, people drove cars without seatbelts. Just like, people for a long time smoked on airplanes, right? And the fact that we give kids phones,
Yeah.
and even sometimes adults having phones without any kind of safety, like true safety feature on them.
Yeah.
And so really powerful that you're providing a product that just helps make like that experience safer. We gave us our kids have recently gotten phones, like our younger two. And I literally had the thought, like I should put a sharp knife on the table with my son at the same time I show him the phone and say, these two are both equally dangerous and they're both equally a potential tool, right? Like you can use a knife for good things and protection and lots of stuff, but it's also highly risky if handled wrong. And in the same way, thinking about the phone and what could become if they're not taught to manage it well. So really love, where you guys are and the work that you guys are doing. It's amazing to see how the company has grown, and y'all's influence continues to expand. So with that thought of we could do better, what's the future like, do you think? 5, 10 years from now, where do you think things are going? Is there even more apps on the phones? Are they, more just uh, filled with junk, as it were? Or do you think more and more people step into this space where there's, I don't know if the word safe or like, I love how you guys call it wise. Like wise phones are out there to help people make better decisions with them because we need the ability to communicate with people, and so we don't want to necessarily say put the phone away completely, right? But what do you think the future looks like there?
Yeah, holistically, the easiest way to visualize it is exactly what's occurred with fast food. So what happened? McDonald's has salads now, but there's other chains that offer healthier food, and they've done better. Chipotle, you know, and then think about Whole Foods. Like a whole movement came out of healthy food, and they coined phrases like fair trade, organic, like all this language around it. And there's a whole culture that a vast majority of people are familiar with, partake in, care about, whatever. And it's kind of normal now. It was not normal in the 70s. It was like you were the weirdo who went and picked mushrooms, Ooh.
Right,
So
right.
5 years ago, the people who bought our devices were the weirdos. They were the weird cultural, understood what was going on.
Phenomenon type. Yeah.
Now it's becoming more normal. And my theory is 5 to 10 years from now, like you back to the seatbelt analogy, a lot of the controls that are just common sense will actually be in place. YouTube actually just recently volunteered to have ID verification for people that they believe are under 18. They did that without government regulation. They wouldn't
Hmm.
have done that 5 years ago. Okay, that just
Yeah.
came out, and they got all kinds of backlash and whatever, whatever. But like the UK's passing laws. I mean, like there's going to be like no phones in schools. Like there's going to be basically a normalcy to more analog lives, more digital lives, but it's still going to exist. McDonald's are still on every single corner. You're still going to have all the fast food garbage app stuff. There's going to be a bifurcation of culture and society. So people are going to become Ready Player One VR addicts. I live in a digital world, and there's going to be a whole countercultural movement that live healthier digital lives, and you'll start to see that become even more and more disparity there. So I don't know. That's my theory.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it sounds like you're going to be leading that one side of it for sure, and
Yeah,
hopefully having influence on the other one.
yeah,
Well, to finish off, tell us a little bit about a next step. If a person's out there, they actually listened all the way to the end of this podcast, which I hope they did. What do they do next? If they're like, man, I really think that guy had some wise things he was saying. I really feel like I'm struggling to take control over my life and my phone use and that kind of thing. What should I go do? So, solicit, please. Like, tell me
sure.
what you got.
I'll solicit selfishly and selflessly, or maybe both. Uh, One, do something in your life to take healthier digital habits, especially if you have kids. Like you won't regret it. I promise. Have courage. Be weird. Just do it because you're going to be ahead of the curve and your kids will be better for it. So there's that. Whether it's buying a Wisephone or a Sage phone, I don't care. Or it's just doing a different habit. So that's from a personal perspective for you because I care about you and who you are as a human. From a selfish perspective, I would say go and invest more money into Eagle Venture Fund and tell them you're doing it so that they can invest into Techless.
There you go. But so what's your website? So sometimes entrepreneurs are so used to being like humble and that kind of thing or trying not to solicit too much.
Sure.
What's the website? Where should people go to and can they buy a phone in the US or in Europe if they're listening to it there effectively? Like tell
Yeah.
tell us the process.
So our two consumer facing websites, we have wisephone.com, and then
Okay.
that's if you want an Android minimalist device, and we're selling in the States currently. And then if you're interested in a healthy iPhone, sagemobile.com is live. It's there. We're currently only shipping to the UK, but you can get on an email list and tell us where you're at, and we will get to you when we come to the States. So
Okay.
those are our two primary
So
facing
wisephone.com and
wisephone.com.
sagemobile.com.
Yep.
Nice.
Wisephone.com, sagemobile.com. Those are our
Okay.
two sites.
All right. after that thing you said a minute ago, one last question is just bugging me. Here's the thing, and I think somebody out there that's listening is probably wondering the same thing. How long does the transition take? Like there's so many apps that we're used to, or so much access
Yeah,
on our phones. Like when you get that phone, the Wisephone, and I'm holding
yeah.
it in my hand, like I open the box, I have that magical moment. And then like the next day I'm kind of ticked off because I can't get access to my favorite app or something like that. And then there's this, I don't know, there's this phase of up and down happiness
Yeah.
and challenge. When do you hear from your customer is that kind of moment where most of them, hey, after 2 months or whatever that is, it starts to feel pretty good at that point?
We this is such a predictable journey that we've actually visualized it. I don't have it, but in our packaging, we have a new piece of art here, and it shows your
Nice. Of course you
experience. And,
did.
and I think I don't know what we call it, the pit of analog despair or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's legitimate moments that are very predictable because you're retraining your brain, you're rewiring the way you use technology, and like, oh, I can't do this thing that I was used to doing. I mean, I go check my email on my computer. Like I go and I open it up. Like that's different than what most people do. And people just go and they hold their phones like this and they look at it and then they like put it back in their pocket because you can't do anything on it.
Yeah.
Long story short, 30 days, 14 days is like rewiring stuff. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, I do feel better. And by 30 days, you're like, okay, I get it. I feel it. I understand it. Peace, freedom, whole 9 yards. We even sold a 30-day Wisephone rental for a detox kit with no intentions to upsell or sell the device afterwards. It was a pure rent a phone for 30 days, put it back in a shipping box, we'll take it back. And we ended up 40% of those users ended up keeping their device, which was blew us out of the water that was what occurred. But that's because they went through this journey. So
Interesting. All right. So for the listener out there, if you're willing to take the 30-day plunge, as it were, you've got the cold plunge, it's immediate, it's cold, but it's great afterwards. If you're willing to take the 30-day plunge, this is the opportunity for you today. Awesome. Hey, thanks so much, Mr. Kaspar, for joining us today and sharing about the work you guys are doing. Thanks for just being a scrappy entrepreneur and continuing to go after this vision of building a product that really transforms both your life and the lives of potentially every person on the planet. So I love it, man. Continued wishes for the best success and look forward to the next conversation.
awesome. Thank you so much, Vid. And conversations like this are so encouraging. And Eagle Venture Fund has been amazing in everything you guys do. So y'all have been a huge part of this story as well. So thanks for being there side by side with me.